Tea Party-sponsored conference call was going on. It was sponsored by the conservative Eagle Forum group, and it got unexpectedly interesting when a caller said something we hadn't been expecting. Bob from Maine said, "I'm from Maine, and our Tea Party will be meeting up next week. What is the best way that we can get our senator to listen to us?" They're talking about immigration reform. Another caller jumps in, not identified there. "Shoot her," is met with laughter. The moderator then says, "Yes, we will shoot her with," you don't know exactly here, there, and phone calls. And so the idea is that they sort of try to play it off. Exactly, with
like emails and phone calls.
Emails, letters, or something like that. And then they moved on with the conversation. And so the moderator and the people hosting this call weren't the ones who said that we should shoot Susan Collins over a stance on immigration reform. But they did try to laugh it away. They didn't seem to have a problem with it. I expect that in these conference calls, that sort of thing is probably pretty common.
Yeah, now Senator Jeff Sessions was on the call.
His communications director.
Oh, Stephen Miller. And then they say that he might have left the call before this happened. I don't know how they know that, but I guess they have a source. And Heritage Foundation research fellow Robert Rector was there and apparently still on the call.
And by the way, hosted by the Eagle Forum, that's Phyllis Schlafly's group, to bring her back into it.
Yeah. So look, I don't want to do too much guilt by association. At some point in the call, Sessions' communications director was there, but not at the time. I mean, and you know, it's not necessarily the responsibility of every single person on the call to correct that jackass, etc. I would have hoped at least the moderator, instead of laughing it off, would have said, "Hey, listen, guys, there's some jokes that are unacceptable."
Like John McCain did. At that debate or whatever it was, when someone was yelling out, "Oh, he's a talking about Barack Obama, he's a Muslim, he's a Kenyan," and John McCain was actually a stand-up guy. He was like, "No, we have disagreements, but he's a good man." That sort of thing.
And actually, conservative talk show hosts hated that moment. Oh yeah,
definitely.
And they were like, "Oh, McCain lost the election right there by being a decent human being.
Yeah,
you should have just let him run with the Kenyan Muslim rumors." I mean, they're such bad guys, but also they have a slight more responsibility here because their side is the one that was always talking about guns and grabbing the guns, etc. There's some chance that he wasn't joking, right? And I mean, great chance that he was, but you got to really nip that in the bud.
Yeah, whatever. I don't fall. I mean, if he was joking, then I give him a pass on the joke. It's a silly joke because of the context of the other people he's around with, where there's a feeling and discussion of doing this kind of thing has existed. But you'd like to think that if professional people were running a serious conference call at the Eagle Forum, that someone there is going to be like, "Hey, no joking about shooting elected officials, okay?
Yeah.
Let's move on." That's it.
Oh, and by the way, look, I have experience in this in that I went to Occupy LA once, and I gave a speech about Bradley Manning, and this clown comes up to me afterwards, and he's like, "Oh, I totally agree with you, and it's great. I mean, the problem is the cops. Shouldn't we, go after the cops?" I'm like, what do you mean go after the cops? What does that mean? It's like, this non-armed stuff or non-violent stuff hasn't worked. I'm like, shut up. Like, that's ridiculous. Yeah. And no, you shouldn't do that.
And stop talking to me.
And get away from me.
I need to go have lunch.
And so, I mean, it's not acceptable. It's totally unacceptable because you don't want to leave anyone with the wrong impression that shooting a senator would be a funny thing.
Right. It's okay,
right. Yeah. So, I don't want to overdo it because I know that there was laughter. They think it's a joke, etc. But it's just a terrible idea.